chemists, we're back talking about disaccharides again. So again, monosaccharide is 1, disaccharide is 2. Anyone want to guess what more than 2 is? Hint, it's poly. And here again is how they go together.
Sometimes organisms link sugar molecules in pairs to form disaccharide.
Well,
Sometimes to form disaccharide. Here are several examples. Plants make sucrose by joining glucose and fructose. Sucrose circulates in plant sap, and we obtain it from sugarcane and sugar beets and use it as table sugar. Lactose is formed by joining galactose and glucose. Lactose is the disaccharide that gives milk its sweet taste. Maltose consists of 2 linked glucose molecules. Digestion of starch, in a sprouting seed or in the intestine of an animal, produces this disaccharide.
did you
Sometimes organisms...
Did you see the little hydrogens come off of there? So it's dehydration because it's losing water. Same here, dehydration. Okay, disaccharides. Lactose, what we just said, made from monosaccharide glucose and galactose. Maltose in beer, malted milkshakes. I don't like malts. I know, that's just a weird flavor. I don't like it. I know some people do. They like malted things. I'm not a fan. And sucrose in table sugar. These are disaccharides, 2. Sucrose is the main carbohydrate in plant sap. High fructose corn syrup is made by a commercial process, and this process actually converts natural glucose in corn syrup to a much sweeter fructose. So essentially it's just a chemical reaction that makes the glucose into fructose. And again, it starts in corn. It goes from starch to glucose to fructose. This is usually by a system of enzymes that just make it sweeter. And typically if you suck on a cracker for long enough, just at the very end, you can get a hint of sweetness. You can break it down in your mouth. A piece of bread or a cracker or some pasta, you can break it down in your mouth for long enough that you can get that little hint of sweetness. You know, it's not the same as eating a marshmallow, but if you hold it in there, if you take communion ever, sometimes you can hold it in, you just have it in your mouth for a while and you notice that it has a little bit of a sweet, that like cracker that's tasteless will sometimes taste a little bit sweet right at the end. It's because you're breaking down the carbohydrates and making it into a fructose or a sucrose. We are apparently, well, I think we all know that we eat too much sugar. The average American consumes 450 kilograms of sugar. That's about 100 pounds per year. So you are literally eating 100 pounds of sugar per year. And that's mainly a sucrose and high fructose corn syrup. Sugar is bad for you. It rots your teeth. And increases the risk of type 2 diabetes, heart disease, obesity, all kinds of things. Okay, poly. Remember, mono, di, polysaccharide. Polysaccharides are complex carbohydrates and are made of long chains of sugars. So here is your starch granule long chains of monosaccharides.
Polysaccharides are polymers, long
Look at all the
chains
water coming
consisting
off.
of hundreds to thousands of linked monosaccharides.
So starch is a familiar example of polysaccharides. Consists of a long string of glucose molecules and is used by plant cells to store energy. Potatoes and grains of rice, corn, these things have lots of starch in them. And they're a major source of starch in our diet, especially potatoes. So plants actually make that to store energy. It stores energy in the tuber and then it can use that later. Carrots do the same thing. They store all that starch energy in the root of the carrot and then they pull from it the second year to make flowers. Except we actually ruin their little plant dreams by eating their root. So there's a starch. Here's glycogen. It's used in your cells and animal cells to store energy, and it breaks down again to release the glucose. So that's what I said. When you have carbohydrates, for example, you eat a piece of bread, some of that is used for energy, and the rest is stored in your glycogen, which is your starch flour storage. And it just keeps it there, and then about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, when you're feeling weak, it's actually pulling polymers. It's actually pulling that carbohydrates back out of your glycogen. So it's just to store energy. It's a place where your body stores energy. Cellulose. This is the most abundant organic compound on Earth. If you're a trivia person, cellulose is the most abundant organic compound on Earth. Basically, it forms cell walls in plants. So think celery, think, anytime you have really a stem at all, it's going to have a lot of cellulose in it. It cannot be broken down by enzymes produced by animals. That's why you don't really break that down. That's the fiber in your diet. It helps keep things moving in your digestive system, but you don't actually break it down. Again, cellulose, it's just the plant cell wall, and it looks, again, like a polysaccharide, like a polymer polysaccharide made up of many monosaccharides. Okay, moving on to lipids. Yay, fat! Okay, there are two kinds of lipids, hydrophilic and hydrophobic. Hydrophilic is water-loving. It just loves water. And it dissolves readily in water. Think Kool-Aid. Think hot cocoa mix. Think something that's designed to dissolve. It loves water. That's really everything. That's not lipids. Oil and water, it's the same. Oil and water don't mix. Lipids are hydrophobic. They are afraid, if you want to use, they are unable to mix with water. Oil and water will stay, you'll have your oil and you'll have your water. When you combine oil and vinegar, the oil, which is a type of lipid, separates from the vinegar, which is mostly water. So here's a picture in case you've never had oil and vinegar. The vinegar will go to the bottom, the top will stay in oil. Lipids also differ from carbohydrates, proteins, and nucleic acid in that they are neither huge macromolecules, nor are they necessary polymers built from repeating monomers. So they look a little bit different. Lipids are sort of a diverse group of molecules made from their own little thing. This is what a fat or lipid looks like. A typical fat or triglyceride consists of a glycerol. This is the glycerol, the little head, this part. This glycerol is joined by 3 fatty acid molecules. Guess how? A dehydration reaction. There's your water. It's losing water. So this is a fat molecule. It's going to have 3 triglycerides, glycerol molecules. So there are different types that you'll remember, but here is how these are made. Maybe, there we go.
Butter, lard, margarine, and salad oil are composed of lipids called fats. To make a fat molecule, 3 fatty acids bind to a molecule of glycerol. For this reason, fat molecules are technically called triglycerides. Fat molecules do not mix with water because they have 3 long nonpolar hydrocarbon tails. Cells use fats for energy storage because the tails hold more potential energy than other biological molecules. The fatty acid tails in a fat can vary in length. A very important characteristic of fats is the number of double bonds in the hydrocarbon tails. Fats that contain only single bonds are called saturated fats. Fats containing double bonds in 1 or more tails are called unsaturated fats. Unsaturated fats tend to be liquid at room temperature. Vegetable oils are examples. Saturated fats, like butter and lard, are solid at room temperature. Saturated fats in the diet can lead to heart disease, while unsaturated fats are safer.
So there we have it. It's a hydration reaction, a dehydration reaction, and you're going to have 3 of these lipid tails, and we will pick up there in the next